person working in the area of intellectual property rights in research organization, educational organization, or in industry. This course is designed to provide participants with a deeper understanding of IPR and the techniques required for smooth utilization of IPR system. It contains practicals along with lectures, examples, and exercises to provide skill, encourage participation, and exchange information. I welcome all the senior officers from ICAR, head of the divisions, invited resource person, all participants coming from diverse background and region across India. Dr. Rita Sharma ji, Madam will enlighten us on the importance of innovation, technology transfer, and the successful adoption of research results for the benefit of society. Now I request JDR sir to welcome Madam. These plants has been developed by Dr. Jayanti in our tissue culture facility here. And now I wish to take this opportunity to welcome Mr. R.S. Samuel, Joint Development Commissioner, Ministry of MSME, and he is IRI alumni. He did his master's in plant physiology from IRI. Friends, I welcome Dr. K.V. Prabhu sir, our Joint Director Research, who is always with us in each and every activity as a guiding force. Sir has provided us not only guidance, but moral support and logistic supports whenever we needed him. We were bothering him in the night also. So thank you, sir, for being with us. And now I request Dr. Jayanti to present. It's okay, sir. It's a small gift, sir. We also have with us Dr. J.P. Sharma ji, Joint Director Extension. And technology transfer is effective only with proper extension support. And IRIs is proud to have strong extension mechanism in 10 states in the country. Now I'll request Dr. Jayanti to welcome him. Friends, this training program is intended mainly for persons working in the area of intellectual property rights in research organization, educational organization, or in industry. This course is designed to provide participants with a deeper understanding of IPR and the techniques required for smooth utilization of IPR system. It contains practicals along with lectures, examples, and exercises to provide skill, encourage participation, and exchange information. I welcome all the senior officers from ICAR, head of the divisions, invited resource person, all participants coming from diverse background and region across India, ladies and gentlemen in the hall. Distinguished participant, we in IRI look forward to your active participation and cooperation. I can assure you of your full support to your effort. Now I invite Dr. K.V. Prabhu for his opening remarks.
Thank you, Neeru. Madam Dr. Rita Sharma, Mr. Samuel, Dr. J.P. Sharma, Neeru, and my friends here, ADG, Dr. Maurya, Dr. Ashok, Sanjeev, Dr. Kochar, and all my fellow friends here. IPR working in public domain seemed something unconnected till Madam Rita Sharma came up with a unique committee which was branding ICAR. I don't know whether you remember that or not. She was chairperson of the first committee before she became the chairperson of this guideline development, where the value of branding a product to an institution, public or private, whatever, came up on the screen, which we had never thought, envisaged as something that we would have to have in our system too. Madam, when we develop several products, varieties for that matter, which actually trades more than something like 200,000 crores business in the country, unrecognized, disorganized, I'm not saying unorganized, it is disorganized, very abrupt in its way of doing things, ad hoc in its management. There is nothing like a stable system that worked on it, but nevertheless money flowed in and money did get accrued and people did make money out of it. But when we got people to look at our technologies, the varieties for example, we would be very happy if somebody offered to take it with him and then produce it and sell it or whatever. We'd feel very happy. Meri variety ja rahi hai bahar. It never occurred to us that when he would do it, of course he would make money, that we would know. When he would make money, he would actually not build brand value to it, because he or she would not necessarily take care of the quality, which is what we never attempted to think of. And the variety would normally, unless the farmer himself decided that this is something that has come to him as a gift and he is really getting turned on because of its ability to give him more money, more returns for the investment he makes, the variety would die a natural death, unnatural death, because of the wrong management of the technology. It never occurred to us that that could be managed well. With your arrival on the scene in the ICR as finance advisor and subsequent dealings with how to manage the technologies and IPR regime in general getting activated with WTO and such kind of things, somehow triggered us on. And then we also realized that it is not enough to protect our technology. It is not enough to say that we want to commercialize. It's also required to see that it is managed properly to the value it commands in the system, in terms of the product value and in terms of the value it gives to the institution which has produced it and the people who invented it. So there was a disconnect among all the three. One would not even bother after its registration or verification in terms of its release by getting notified or released by an identification committee or some such thing, which gives the individual some points for his individual career. So that was generally end of the story, and we would just say, "Mere variety release ho gayi." So that was the end of the story normally. So in effect, I believe the growth we have made in agriculture in terms of, I don't say in economic sense of 2% or 3% or 4.9%, I'm not saying that. What I'm saying is the growth of innovative attitude among scientists to be feeling happy when the variety is making money and that is quantifiable. That never ever came to us in our mind. We never ever evaluated the value we have generated for the system. For example, madam, just two technologies from our institute, where I'm personally involved, that's why I'm accounted for it. Yeah, it comes to about 130,000 crores annually. 130,000 crores from wheat and rice, two technologies only, varieties, that too. And that is just not recognized, not even identified as something that is significant to the economy of the country, which is what it is. And it is this regimen of IPR and understanding the value of protecting the quality of the material and giving it its due, the salute that it deserves from the user, consumer, and the innovator, is not due given to him or her or the agency which is producing it, because there was nothing like managing it. So thanks to the system and thanks to Neeru's perseverance, see, in a system, we were talking in the morning how we should be going so much forward and seamlessly going forward. The crisis of every kind in a system, in a public system that too, where we have, there is absolutely nothing like autonomy. It's all in the way of saying it. Even functional autonomy is generally not there. We are not sure that despite the guidelines, we many times misinterpret it to the rules. A guideline is confused as something that is barricaded and you can't just think of even touching it, forget crossing it. So that's how we have a feeling about, and then we conveniently toss it on to either Dr. Maurya or ICR, and we are satisfied that I have done my job of asking somebody else. So that's the problem with our system. And till that kind of fluidity is not established, I don't think your dream, which you just now was narrating, that in 2016 we should be able to kick the word around in the agricultural dust and see that it just does not make a small cloud, it becomes a mountain for other people to realize that there is something happening in the country in agriculture sector. So I believe these are some starting points, and when more people talk about it, more people discuss this, and maybe the people who make decisions on them one day will come forward and say, you are free to do anything you want as long as country's interest, which you self-regulate, is maintained and managed irrespective of the technology, as long as you're honoring all the treaties and rules and guidelines which are there in the country. If that kind of freedom is really given in black and white, things will function properly without being afraid of somebody pulling up for having missed somewhere. If you try to run, you will maybe slip sometime, but then that's how it is. You have to get up and manage to see that you don't slip again, but run to reach the goal. Thank you very much for coming here, madam, and I hope you will continue to support us. You will continue to give, because your words even now carry weight with your National Advisory Council's stake, where you must have, in that capacity, seen so many different diverse things than the things you did as a career bureaucrat, because that was open to several things. I think it had the seamless boundary. Everything that was mattering for the country was discussed there at very high level, and I'm sure that that would have given you much more, say, in-depth analysis of the nation at large. And I believe you will give us that support, and also where required, we will come to you for support, so that some strings, if that will pull and stitch together, you would help us doing that. Thank you very much for this, Neeru. All the best to all of you. I wish we can have a quick round of introduction so that Madam knows the range of people we will be dealing with. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. As sir has suggested, so we will be having a quick round of introduction. Can we start from you? Yeah, please.
Directorate of
Seed Research MAU.
My name is Hasni. I am from NGO, Graduate Talenta Sanstha.
Myself Dr. Nandedi Balaji Murari. I am scientist in Agricultural Mechanization Division, ICR, Central Institute of Agricultural Engineering, Bhopal.
Myself Loken Soni from ICR CIE Bhopal.
Myself, Manish Kumar Mishra. I am working in AICRP and oil seed system in College of Agriculture, JM Degree, Jodhpur.
Myself, Anandam Krasia. I am working as a research associate in the Central Institute of Agricultural Engineering, Bhopal.
Myself Kundan Kumar, Director Cash Bio Resource Private Limited. Good morning everyone. Myself Dr. Rubili Sarkar, Scientist Division of Industrial Enterprise, IRI.
Myself, Dr. Sunil Kumar, Assistant Professor, Center for Agroforestry, ST Agriculture University, Gujarat.
Myself, Dr. Anisha, Agripedia, New Delhi.
Good morning, ma'am. I am Devendra Karam, Joint Director of Food Inspection, the Indian Army.
Good morning, ma'am. I am Tarun Nagori from Central Agroforestry Research Institute, Jhansi. I am here there.
Good morning, I am Dr. Amit Nath, Regional Scientist, working at IIFSR, Indian Institute of Farming System, Modi here.
Good morning all of you. Myself Dr. M.S. Sachal, Subject Matter Specialist, Genetics and Plant Breeding, Krishi Vigyan Kendra, Moon District, Nagaland. Under the Post Institute of Directorate of Agriculture, Government.
Myself, Dr. Sonia Goyal, and I am working at NRCTV, National Research Center on Plant Biotechnology, to Dr. NPC and SR.
Kunal Bhavati and Dr. Parasham Ati from the Institute for Natural Resources, Kolkata.
Good morning, everybody. I am Dr. Usha Mara, working as Research Associate in ICR, IIM, New Delhi. I am Dr. Savita, SMS Home Science, Krishi Vigyan Kendra, Bangalore Rural District, Karnataka.
Shri S.R. Samuel sir, our own distinguished alumni of IRI, Madam Neeru Bhushan, Dr. Saxena, ADG IPR, Dr. Maurya, Dr. A.K. Singh, Walia sahab, my senior colleagues, and dear participants. I again, on the behalf of IRI and on my own behalf, welcome you to this 21 days training program on a very relevant and timely topic. I am not the expert of this subject or not much acquainted with this issue, but my thinking is it is related to rights. IPR, intellectual property rights. When it comes to right, that right should be known to the stakeholders. And we have to see who are the stakeholders: industry, farmers, research organization. In that context, I will only add that for sustained food security, we need to increase the production. And when we talk of increasing production, there is a important role of the technology generation, and this IPR has a profound impact on technology generation and its transfer. When Madam was discussing in that side room, I heard a word, Madam Rita Sharma ji, culture. Are we able to create a culture of IPR? We talk of entrepreneurial culture, many culture we talk, but despite all efforts for so many years, perhaps we are not able to create IPR culture in our society, not only in the institutions, in our society. Whether the stakeholders are aware of all these things development taking place. So beside this organizational system, I think whatever I perceive, that culture should start from our schools. It should go to our agriculture universities, graduate and undergraduate system. And I see that there should be a compulsory course. Like Dr. Prabhu, we have started many 2-3 courses in IRA, History of Agriculture. You are taking those classes, so that all students should know about it. So similarly, to create the culture in the masses or the stakeholders, can we develop a compulsory course at UG and PG level in all the ICR system, state universities, deemed universities? This is number one. Developing the capacity and competency and capability of all the stakeholders. In this respect, need to be taken care of. Now, government priority, recently there was a slogan, convert ideas into wealth, converting innovations into wealth. So here they have emphasized the role of farmer-led innovations. Besides institutional innovation, another important issue is empowering farmers, facilitating them for claiming IPR for their innovations. Now, not only the institutions, there are a large number of farmers, those who have developed the technology, even developed the varieties, refined the this equipments and technologies or implement which the system has developed. They are their own innovations. PPVFR is doing to protect their rights in case of conservation of germplasm, but I think that is not enough. Now, IRI, sir, madam, I want to tell that we have taken an initiative. We have started 4 or 5 years back, at least documenting farmer-led innovations. So we have started a scheme that every year during our Krishi Vigyan Mela for 3 days, where 1 lakh farmers attend from different part of the country, we recognize, give them award to some 20-25 farmers all over the country as a innovative farmers. We provide them free logistic facilities, accommodation, this and their TAD, everything. And full 1 day, they share their experiences in front of the other farmers, what innovations they have done. This scheme we have started. Later on, another system we have developed to recognize the farmers at higher level, IRI fellow farmers or IRI professors, farmer professors, IRI farmer professor. And that scheme is, that kind of initiative need to be taken. That the scheme is, every year 3 to 4 farmers are selected as IRI farmer professor. Once they are selected, they are invited in the institute for 30 days, maybe 2 spells or 3 spells. They are institute guests provided all kind of facilities, this logistic facility, transport, this everything, and they interact with the scientists as well as with the students. And they tell what is required in the farming system. They give the feedback of your technology also, and they give us direction. We prepare the vision, but that vision should take into account the aspirations of the farmers. So that interaction is very fruitful. What is happening at the ground level? What are the challenges of agriculture, especially the small and marginal farmer? What kind of marketing problem they are facing? And that feedback can be utilized to prioritize our research. And every day they are paid 1,000 rupees as a honorarium. And they can come even by flight. So that is the kind of incentive. Money is not important, but their recognition. When they go into their villages, their society, they feel proud of it. Even not only this, even certificate. Even if some letter goes from IRA to a farmer, he keeps it. It's considered it a very precious letter. And whenever he meet with the society and the farmer, they show it. I know they show it. So I have received a letter. So personal letters, some farmers we are sending, innovative farmers, for Mela. So that is a recognition for them. Now, considering this in our extension division, we have started a 5-year, you were there in the IRC, we have started a 5-year project, upscaling and outscaling of farmer-led innovations. That is mechanism we are trying to develop. But more importantly, how can they be the partner in commercialization process? How they can get their share when their innovations becomes a technology. That kind of mechanism need to be developed. I am happy, I understand, and just by your introduction, this is perhaps the first time that ICR or IERI is organizing 21 days. Earlier 10 days training program was perhaps organized, but 21 days program on IPR and agriculture is being organized for the first time. Participants, you have seen that all part of the country they are, and more importantly from different sectors. They are representing NGOs, they are representing industry, they are representing academic institutions, SAUs, every part of the country and representing every discipline. And I congratulate ZTM BPD for taking this initiative, Madam Neeru Bhushan, and also MSME Samuel Saab for being kind enough to sponsor this training program. I think such initiative will go a long way, and our relationship with you will further strengthen. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir, for your encouraging word. And I would like to add a little bit that you are saying we are also taking one compulsory course for PhD student on IPR, and that is being taught in all the 3 trimesters. So, but definitely much more is required, but little bit initiative is already there, and that needs to be further strengthened. And now I would like to take this opportunity to invite Mr. Samuel for his remarks.
Respected Dr. Ritu Sharma ma'am, Mr. Dr. Prabhu, Dr. J.P. Sharma, and Dr. Neeru Bhushan, it gives me an immense pleasure to be here today. It's more like a homecoming after a long time, and coming back to my alma mater gives me immense pleasure. And on this occasion of this 3 weeks of training schedule that is to be, and the aspect of intellectual property rights and its agriculture. And it has come more in an apt time. And in this, Dr. Neeru Bhushan has especially taken a special initiative to make this happen. And today we are talking more about Innovate India, Make in India, and innovation. And IPR holds the main task into that. As you all aware, for any economic growth, there are 3 sectors very much essential. Agriculture, followed by the manufacturing industries, and the service sector. And here the participants and the distinguished guests are from different fields, including the industries, academia, research, and representing the government organizations. And I welcome you all. The sheer dimension of the agriculture. If you see in India, almost till now, 70% of the rural household is directly or indirectly involved in agriculture-related business for the livelihood. And 1/5 of the export is from agriculture till now. And almost 14% of the GDP is from this side. And similarly, the micro, small and medium enterprises, which comprises around 36 million enterprises in India, giving employment to around 60 million people, and that contributes around 45% of the manufacturing sector and 40% of the exports. Now, many of these agriculture business industries are directly and indirectly linked with the MSME sector. Many of the agriculture agro industries are also MSME industries. So these two intersectoral integration is vital for ushering into a massive economic growth. And now, the ICR institutions and its sister organizations, including the research stations and research labs, are putting up human services in terms of developing novel varieties. A lot of technologies can go on, but still it's a long way to go. And in fact, the grassroots level innovation has also to be understood and also has to be promoted and encouraged. As far as the patents under the intellectual property is concerned, it having the different components like patents, trademarks, copyrights, integrated designs, industrial designs, integrated circuits, and geographical indicators. Many of them will have a different correlation with agriculture business and agro industries. Many can very well be imbued into that. And particularly for those industries which are going ahead with international trade, it is vital, very vital to protect the intellectual property rights. And of course, now you have seen, the awareness that's been in India is still in the abysmal stage. That much of awareness is not there. The significance is yet to be understood. Now we have seen in the recent times, a lot of consortiums, the law firms are coming in India particularly, representing the foreign firms to protect their intellectual property rights, to see is there any infringement is going on. But the same is not happening with our industries, whether it is industries or in the agriculture side. This trend has to change. And this is a main purpose, since you are here and you will be understanding that, giving an exposure into that IPR and its relevance and significance in a massive way. And in this, the Government of India, under the Ministry of Micro, Small and Medium Enterprises, is promoting several schemes to promote the innovation and creativity, and also to adapt the new technologies in agriculture field as well as in various industrial sector. One among them is National Manufacturing Competition Program, where the awareness creation on IPR rights and the various schemes have been implemented in that. And I hope that sooner or later, this technology unit here will also come up with an intellectual property facilitation center, which will be, funded by our ministry. I hope so. It will be very early. It's already working on that. And when you are talking about the intellectual property, let's come back to once again here. Like in agriculture, let's say the crop improvement, where there is biotechnology, or the plant breeders' rights, or the plant breeding, and agro industries, agrochemicals can be very well developed. And in this regard, the enabling framework, like the Plant Protection, the Protection of Plant Varieties Act, and the Farmers' Rights, then the Biodiversity Act, which are in the way which enable a lot of innovation practices to take place, which has to usher in a new dimension in the coming eras. If you see in the earlier 17th and 18th centuries, worldwide, there was a starting of the colonialism, where the countries from the West went across for territorial gains and to capture markets. But now in the 21st century, it is a knowledge-based economy. And the confrontation will be more on the intellectual properties. Until we protect what we are having right now, we will lose everything. We have much to lose and little to gain if we don't protect it. So there are both ways. One is to protect the intellectual properties, as well as to promote and develop them in the further, to augment the trade. And with this, there is one of the areas of geographical indicators among the intellectual property. In the past few years, it has been almost 75, but in the past 2 years, there are more than 263 geographical indicators have been patented, and particularly from agriculture field more than 63. It is almost, we can say, 25% of the geographical indicators patented in India is right now in agriculture. Some of the few examples like Mahabaleshwar strawberry or Tejpur lychee in Assam, Queen pineapple from Tripura, green cardamom in Alipi. These are some of the examples I like to mention because it is coming up very well, and this also should be in your knowledge that it can be promoted well so that the communities can also get the benefit or for the equal sharing of the equity and the benefits accruing out of it. And another area is the traditional knowledge. What happens? The traditional knowledge is directly not linked with the patent system, but the age-old, since the time immemorial, those knowledge, the know-how and the skills which has been promoted, developed, sustained and passed on to various generations, which might not have been documented. But of course, recent times they are documenting through the traditional knowledge digital library under the CSIR. One of the recent examples is just a few days back, you all know the multinational company Colgate Palmolive. They tried to patent one of the mouthwash formulation that is developing. It is developed in the sense, it is since time immemorial it has been used in the ancient practice, which is in the scripts as well. They attempted to patent it. It's an infringement under intellectual property rights. But fortunately, it has been effectively thwarted in the Patent Office of European Union. So this way, one thing is to about protecting our own intellectual property, as well as to promote it, and also to avoid and to block any sort of infringement, but any of the external agencies involving into that. With this, in the next 3 weeks, you will be having a different exposure, not only on the theoretical aspect, but also you will be visiting the patent office and how to do the documentation and other relevant aspects. There are various very resourceful persons will be here, and we want that it will be more of a dialogue rather than on a monotonous lecture listening to that. Instead, you come up with the dialogue, and you will be also be having a lot of ideas to come up with your issues that you can raise, which can be taken up later on in the policy level stage also. And in the words of the Marcus Aurelius, the once great Roman emperor, that says, coming together is the beginning, keeping together is progress, and working together is success. So we are all here, and of course, for to achieve immense success through understanding and exposure of the intellectual property rights, where there will be a convergence of agriculture and the industries together. It will be forming a kind of symbiotic synergism. And once again, I thank the organizers for inviting me here to be a part of this 3 weeks program, and I wish the workshop and this training a very big grand success. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Samuel, for your encouraging words. And yes, this is true in this time that IP and business has a symbiotic relationship, and if we want to give the emphasis to our SMEs, so we have to take care of IP at a first instance. And I would like to apprise you that in this training session, our 2 incubators is also attending, that they are with us and they have started their business, and now they are also attending the training program, this training program. Sir, we have compiled the offline material, and now I will request Madam Rita Sharma ji to kindly release that. Thank you, madam. We have also prepared the program directory. Now I request Mr. Samuel to release the same. Thank you, Mr. Samuel. Now it's a time to listen, Madam. Now I invite Madam for his keynote address.
Well, till they get the presentation on the screen, let me wish you a very hearty good morning to all the participants and our distinguished senior colleagues on the dais, Mr. Samuel, Dr. Prabhu, Dr. Sharma, Dr. Neeru Bhushan, and the colleagues who I have known from my years in the ICAR, Dr. Maurya, Dr. Kocher. We worked all very closely together in giving a paradigm shift to the mindset of the scientists and the family of the ICAR. Now, how much of that mindset is actually trickled down and how much that mindset has changed still remains to be seen, and there are versions that there are some people who are now very genuinely interested in it and very sensitive to issues of IPR. The others will take their time to get on board. But let me welcome all of you representing the various cross sections of our society, and I'm very happy to see that how diverse is the assembly here this morning with such a diverse experience, which will make this training a very rich and value addition exercise. We have researchers, we have associates, we have faculty, we have entrepreneurs, we have, as mentioned by Neeru, incubatees, and we have entrepreneurs. So welcome all of you to this 3-week training program. I'd like to begin by saying how delighted I am to be here on this occasion. And I'm also very happy to see that this is a partnership effort. I think partnerships is now going to become a very important central core theme in all business that we do, not only in agriculture, but since we are here today in the context of agriculture, the more partnerships that we have, the more networks that we will have, the more enriching will be the content of whatever it is that we are doing. I'm especially happy because, as Mr. Samuel mentioned, he's very happy he's come back to his alma mater. And I'm happy because I've been associated very closely with the subject of what we are going to be discussing, talking about, learning in the next 3 weeks on intellectual property rights in agriculture. I would like to thank the organizers, especially Dr. Neeru Bhushan, who is the course director and the in charge of the unit, and the joint director of IRI, Dr. Prabhu. We worked very closely together from, I don't know, umpteen years. I've even forgotten the number of years that we've all been colleagues. And Dr. Kocher, who actually sort of spurred me on and said, no, you must come because it's time now to begin to look at what has happened in the last 10 years since I chaired the committee which developed the policy framework for IPR in agriculture and the issues of technology transfer and commercialization of that technology. I'm happy to note that we have some of our colleagues who worked together with me when we did this exercise in 2006, and Dr. Kocher was member secretary of that committee. Dr. Maurya was very closely associated with it, and I am again would like to, at the cost of repetition, say that I am really happy to be here to be able to share with you the prospects of how we developed the guidelines, where we are now, and how I see it going forward. In 2008, I moved away from the ICR. At that time, I was Additional Secretary and Financial Advisor, to take up my position as Secretary to the Government of India in the Ministry of Rural Development. And while there, I was very closely associated with the implementation of the National Rural Employment Guarantee Program, which, as many of you know, has a budget of almost $8 billion annually, almost 40 to 45,000 crores a year, and is like a safety net in the rural areas where the state gives a guarantee saying that if you are illiterate, if you don't have any other skills and you cannot command a higher than minimum wage, the state will step in as a safety net and provide you the 100 days of employment. And that has helped a large number of people from distress migration, especially during the time of extreme weather events like droughts and floods and so on. And then, as Dr. Prabhu mentioned, I was also the Secretary of the National Advisory Council during the regime of the UPA government, where we helped in the drafting of the National Food Security Bill. As a result of our efforts, we were able to get the first national agroforestry policy of the country announced in February of 2014. And we also were very instrumental in promoting and supporting the concept of farmer-producer companies, which, of course, as you know, the Companies Act was amended to include a Section 25 for no-profit companies and the farmer-producer companies. Many have got registered there. And since we talk about grassroots levels, and I'm totally fascinated by the idea of what they said was the farmer professors. So you have the farmer producer companies, the farmer entrepreneurs, the grassroots people, farmer collectives who come together for greater empowerment. Now, I get the impression that, and you could correct me as we go along, that a fair amount of significant work has been done in the area of the IPR policy framework and technology transfer and commercialization, which was envisaged in those guidelines. And in my inaugural address today, I will make a presentation which will give an overview, not the technical nitty-gritty, which the experts in the different sessions will, when they interact with you, you will gain from them and benefit from them. But in my address, basically to tell you how the system evolved, where it is now, and as they say in Latin, quo vadis, means where is it going? Where will it go in the future? We must recognize that no guideline is a static document. Guidelines, by their very nature, by their very definition, must be dynamic documents. And it's now coming right time, 10 years of experience, water flown down the bridge, in terms of the experience gained all over the country, in all of the institutions, in terms of what is working, what needs to be modified, what needs to be refined. So from that point of view, I see that in the future, and probably in the year 2016, when it will be exactly 10 years since our guidelines have been in effect, we need to look at them again, to modify them and to strengthen them and to make them more responsive to the feedbacks that we are getting from the group of people who are using these guidelines. Now, I was looking at the list of very eminent speakers who are going to be with you over the next 3 weeks all experts in their own fields, whether from the legal perspective or from the technical dimensions, other sister organizations like the CSIR. I remember we consulted them very closely when we were developing our own guidelines to share with you their own experiences and to jointly sort of look at what can be the learning dimension and the awareness creation dimension of this exercise. I see your course curriculum, and that's very intelligently done, and I think the organizers and Neeru Bhushan have to be congratulated on that, that the guideline, that the course curriculum is broadly segregated into two parts. One is the context, the background, the vision, the overview, and the environment in which these IPR management regime is embedded. So you have, what is the context? So that when you're here for the next 3 weeks, try and understand where it is coming from. What is the context? What is the background? And the other part of this training is the set of lectures, the set of sessions that you will have with people who know the know-how, who are going to tell you the nuts and bolts of it, who will give you from their own experience and their real life examples on how these issues need to be tackled. And both are equally important. As I once read somewhere, that they said that in society you need both poets and you need both plumbers. So poets who do the vision, who give the aesthetic dimension to life, and the plumbers who actually get down and do the job. So society needs both, and I think that your training is a very good, I don't know if it's by design or it's by default, but it's got a very good blend of both the poet dimension, which is the vision, the context, the background, and the overview, and the nitty-gritties, the plumbers who have to get down and tell you actually how you need to do it. So that is by way of an introduction in a way, and if I was you, I would really look forward to this training that you're going to be in the next 3 weeks, learning not only from those who will come and the eminent people who will come here and speak to you, but also more importantly, what you will learn from the discussions which will happen over breakfast, over lunch, over dinner, where you will carry the day's business and sort of own it and give it your own perspective. So let me try and sort of summarize for you a little bit of what 10 years ago we envisaged, a little bit of where we are now, and how I see the way forward. Okay, can I have the next one, please? Okay. All right. So this is to move forward.
Yeah, yes.
Okay. Oops. Okay. So now this is the presentation, and I have divided it into some 6 or 7 sections. Basically a background, IPR related legislation which has been mentioned by various speakers before me, the importance of IP management, the benefits of IPR enabled technologies, salient features of the IPR policy framework. I hope you've had a chance to get a copy of the guidelines, the progress and achievements so far, and the way forward. Now, before the WTO came into existence, protecting and patenting research output was not a customary thing. Everyone thought that this research has been generated out of the taxpayers' money, it's a public good, and therefore needs to be put in the public domain for anyone to take it and use it. I would also like to share with you that I sit on the board of trustees of 2 international research organizations. One is the International Rice Research Institute, IRI, which was very instrumental in the IR8 varieties and all of the Green Revolution. And now the Swarna Sub-1, those of you, anyone from Orissa will know how much good work is going on there in collaboration with the ICR. And the other institute is the International Center for Agroforestry Research in Nairobi. There also, there has been a lot of discussion on this issue of protection, IPR, and commercialization. There are strong views which people expound, saying that research, which is the research output which happens as a result of public funded scientists and innovations, that cannot be protected or should not be protected, should be out in the public domain. And that is a huge discussion that we also had at the time when we were doing these guidelines. Dr. Mangla Rai was the Director General there, and this was a huge topic. But there were two or three reasons why we felt that it should be done. Of course, as soon as India became a member of the WTO in '95, as a member, we had to comply with the trade-related intellectual property regime of the TRIPS. And since that was applicable for all technologies, it was also applicable for agriculture technologies, and therefore we needed to make our own IPR laws compliant with the TRIPS agreement. More importantly, new frontiers were coming up in science. Agro-biotechnology, nanotechnology, and many other frontier sciences were coming up, which were not necessarily in the public domain. They were multinationals, and their huge R&D divisions were churning out genetically modified foods and crops and so on. So that was also a consideration, that research in the future is not just going to be limited to the public research organizations. More and more research, especially in the frontier sciences, is going to be in the private sector, and private sector is going to protect their research. Also, they may, if our research remains unprotected, use the unprotected research intellectual property of organizations like the ICAR, tweak it a little bit, and then commercialize it. So it became then important to recognize that private is going to be an important player. Public-private partnerships are going to be important in generating research products in the future. And if public-private is going to be important, then we need to have systems in place which will protect the intellectual properties which our institutions, our public institutions like the ICAR, will generate. The third thing was, notwithstanding all the wonderful things which Dr. Sharma just mentioned in terms of transfer of technology, we also know that gradually public extension and funding on public extension is declining, and it's declined over the years. So we are now looking at other alternatives, and one of the wonderful alternatives we are looking at is farmer-to-farmer extension, the farmer-professor concept. That's exactly what the thing is, the Mitra Kisan. So that's one set of people. Then farmer collectives are internalizing extension themselves, the cooperatives, the self-help groups, the farmers, the water users associations, and now the farmer producer companies. So they are internalizing it. They're all private people, they're private entities. And then we have the NGOs and the other civil society organizations. And last but not least, we have the private corporate sector who are also doing this exercise. So we have a large number of players now in the field, including the public sector, whose space is gradually shrinking compared to what it was when the Green Revolution came about. And we have many other players as well. Now, in this changing regime, can we use some of these newer mechanisms to be able to take our technologies to the end user. We must make sure that the farmer has as many choices as possible. The more options that the farmer has, the better and more competitive, the better quality and the more competitive prices he will be able to get his inputs from. So that commercialization of technology was going to be one of the areas through which we felt that the technology can reach the end user. A new pathway will be created for ICR technologies to reach the farmer producer. Again, let me tell you, and this is not, I've not mentioned it here, but there was a big discussion. How can we commercialize technology which should be given free of cost to the farmer? The discussion then veered and said that ICR is protecting its intellectual property. It is up to the ICR to decide to whom it will give free of cost and to whom it will license. If it will license, will it be a mutually exclusive license or will it be a non-exclusive license? But the first stage is at least let's get a handle on all the wealth that we have generated, which may be pirated away from us even before we know it. And as the experts here tell me, that it's going on all the time. In one way or the other, we are perhaps not even aware that our technologies are probably being used without acknowledgement, without any returns to the scientists who've created it, and with a little tweak, commercializing it and making millions for those companies who have been able to do that exercise. So all of these we felt, and then of course, if we are not going to be able to protect our technology, then we may not be competitive. So these were all the other reasons which prompted us then to do this exercise. At that point of time, when we started thinking about it, it was not as though intellectual property was not being protected. It was being. There had been a Joel Committee report in 1997, and on a case-by-case basis, this exercise was being done. It's like a case law, but no one was compiling the case law to develop systems out of it. So for the first time then in 2006, a committee was set up, which I chaired and which Dr. Kocher was the member secretary, and there were very eminent people from the ICAR and also legal representatives from our sister organizations like the CSIR and so on, to guide us in terms of how we should develop the guidelines. And the guidelines were then developed, and in September 2006, these guidelines were then announced after they were approved by the board of directors of the ICAR. And this is just listing out of the various IPR related legislations which have all undergone a fair amount of amendment responding to the needs of the time. And we felt that the ICR will have most recourse to patents, protection of plant varieties and copyright. And today when Mr. Samuel was making his presentation, he also mentioned that out of the 250 plus geographical indicators protection, 63 relates to agriculture. So that is also, we must add GI also, where we will be keeping track of. All right, the importance of IPR is it protects the intellectual wealth generated in ICR. Unprotected research can be wrongly and misutilized to our detriment. It stimulates, this is another very important dimension of it, it stimulates research by creating incentives for more knowledge and technology generation as scientists are recognized and rewarded both monetarily and otherwise. And not only the scientists, inbuilt in the guidelines is also provision for those support staffs in the institutes who have helped the technicians and so on, who have helped that scientist to achieve that final breakthrough or that innovation. And the support staff and the institute which provides the infrastructure and the logistic support, that also in the formula that we had envisaged would be incentivized as a result of the final innovation which comes through. Revenue streams can be generated, and we'll see in a minute when we look at, and it's there in that little green folder which Neeru has put in everyone's folder, is the how much the revenue streams can be generated. But let's be very clear, revenue generation is not something that we expect is going to fill the coffers of the ICAR. It's a byproduct, and if it comes, good, it will be utilized for filling in the gaps. And my feeling is that it shouldn't go into the Consolidated Fund of India. It should, whichever institute generates it, should sit with that, and they should be able to decide what they can do with it. So that is the issue on the revenue streams. IPR also enables access to technology from private sector. Remember, a lot of technology is now being generated in the private sector, and if we have to do business with them, we also better have some good bargaining points to do. And so that is also very important. Commercialization of technology promotes enterprise growth. This kind of thing with incubation of technology, with these young entrepreneurs, young people from MSME who are sitting here, this would never have happened if we had not brought in this dimension of IPR. And we expect to see this grow more rapidly and more, become more widespread, not only in this ZTM, but in all the other ZTMs as well. And ultimately, and this is how we were able to get this approved in the board of the ICAR, that ultimately what we are doing is for the benefit of the farmer. Because if the technologies reach the farmers, if more and more technologies are generated, if researchers are enthused, if they are inspired to do more research, then it will ultimately, who will benefit will be the farmer. Commercialization of IPR-enabled technologies through public-private partnership would lead to accelerated and efficient transfer. Improvement in rates of adoption by producers will increase productivity, production incomes, and employments. We'll be able to negotiate and bargain with strategic research to get strategic research tools and technologies, and revenue streams will be generated also as a byproduct. Now, what are the salient features of this IPR policy that we put together? The ownership of IP generated will vest with ICAR, right? Protection of all the IP that are protectable and worth protecting will be protected under the various IPR laws. ICAR will closely monitor the evolution of IPRs at all levels, both national and international, and this work is to be done at all levels, but primarily at the national apex level, at the what we had envisaged at that time was the Agriculture Technology Management Center. But now I've been told that they've gone a step beyond that and made it a private profit company to give it the flexibility and to make it autonomous, so that they can get as many experts, cutting edge consultants to help in some of this new thinking. Issues, this is very interesting when we discussed this, was the issues of patenting versus publishing, and you, when during the course of your training, you will see this, because I see the larger number of people here are research scientists. At what time I have an innovation, should I publish and make it public immediately? Not if it will have a IP content or a IP content which is worth protecting. Then you will publish only after you file the application for the patent. public domain knowledge also, if there's something you want to put out only in the public domain, but need to be very clear that it is an ICAR product, then quickly publish the results and place it in the public domain. The other salient features of the IPR policy was registration and document. This was a very interesting fact, and I would like to sort of highlight this here, is that registration and documentation for animal and fish genetic resources, there is no IPR enabling provision under the law. So what we had thought was to preempt grant of patents. In some countries they do that on animals and fish. The existing system of the plant germplasm registration at the NGPGR, and I know someone is here from the NGPGR, will be extended to the National Bureau of Animal Genetic Research and the National Bureau of Fish Genetic Research. I am not sure if this exercise has already started, but we had envisaged that if you can't protect it and patent it and so on, nobody else should be able to do it. Let's quickly register what we have so that it's there in the public domain. Then ICAR will transfer, this was another issue, that what will be the criteria on the basis of which IPR enabled technologies will be transferred. Then they said that these are the 3 or 4 areas we need to keep very much in mind, that priorities related to food security, sustainable use of resources, incomes especially for small and marginal farmers, since 85% of our farmers are small and marginal, and employment generation. Another thing was the 3-tier structure which had been envisaged, that there would be a Central Technology Management Committee under the chairmanship of the DG of ICAR, and we had envisaged that the ATM center at headquarters would function as the secretariat of that CTMC, which of course now, as Dr. Maurya tells me, is being given an autonomous structure of a for-profit company under the Companies Act. Then there would be the zonal technology management committees and the zonal technology management centers, the one which we are here and which is organizing. This is, I think, one of 5 in the country which is organizing this training. They're the cutting edge people. They are neither at the institute level, which is a relatively smaller domain, and neither at the national level, but they are really I think a very, very vital tier of this system. And then you have each institute having its own unit, that is the Institute Technology Management Unit. We envisage that a large number of training programs and capacity building will be done, and which is as it should be, because as Dr. Sharma was mentioning, that the IPR culture has not yet seeped into our psyche. It is there. Some people are talking about it. You guys, when you are going to be leaving from here, you will be oriented in its thinking. But not many people are still in this framework. So this has to be a constant effort at all levels, institute, zonal, and at the central level, is the enhancement of knowledge, know-how, development of skills, and all these various items, patent, IP research, IPR compatible record keeping. We don't have any idea in terms of how we need to go about it. So we need to consult with experts and develop protocols, develop systems. Drafting MOUs. The private sector is going ahead and putting in hundreds of applications. We are holding back because we do not have the skills for drafting them. And I don't blame them. Scientists are not trained to draft MOUs and patent documents and license agreements. We need to work with lawyers. We need to work with the concerned legal experts for this. Negotiation skills. When you get into the discussions, we will have lawyers, but ultimately it has to be the science and the technology, and the substantive part of the discussion has to come from the scientists themselves. And dispute prevention and settlement. So substantive and procedural aspects of litigation. All this was envisaged as part of that exercise. Now, what is the progress and achievement so far? I was looking at the progress which has been made by this center, and during the last 5 to 6 years, they have generated 4.6 crores of revenue through technology commercialization. And I think that for a start, it's a pretty good achievement. And my congratulations to the group of people who are taking this forward. I recognize they do it in very adverse circumstances. They do not get adequate funding, they do not get adequate human resources into it, staff is short, but despite that, through their own passion, through their own commitment, this has been achieved. 120 technologies commercialized in this, in the domain of the ZTM of IRI. 108 patents, 31 contract research projects, 55 consultancy projects, 262 licensing apps. I have got this information from that folder, that green paper that is in your folders. And I like this, it's been said so well, Takniki se Vyavsay, that is from technology to commercialization, that encapsulates the spirit of the center and what it stands for. You've done a lot of good work in incubation and the MSME scheme for business education, induction workshops, capacity building workshops, and I also see that a large number of foreign delegations also visit your center so that there is an exchange of experience with others as well. Now, in my view, the way forward is that 2016 is going to be the 10th anniversary of the IPR policy announcement of the ICAR. And this is going to be a time to take stock and assess what in the guidelines has worked and what needs modification and refinement. National conference, Dr. Prabhu, I hope that you will be able to influence that. I will also see if one can sort of talk to the ICAR and have partners maybe as NAS or TAS. I sit on the board of TAS also, to look at now a national conference to with various stakeholders to assess what we've been able to achieve, what in the guidelines has worked well, and what in the guidelines now needs to be modified and refined to meet the challenges which you have felt when you are actually implementing them in the field. Another thing which we could do is, it's also the time now, and this should also be at the national level, a compendium of field experience, of success stories, best practices, which also should be compiled to be able to come out at the time of the national conference. And this whole concept, to give some thought to greater autonomy, flexibility to ZTMs, so that they are competitive with what is happening in the private sector, where decision making is so quick and leads to efficiencies, whereas we sometimes get bogged down by the large number of checks and balances that we have put on ourselves. To some extent, definitely there should be transparency and accountability. We must remember we are not dealing with private funds, we are dealing with public funds, and therefore accountability and transparency is important. But if that same transparency and accountability becomes a hurdle, then we need to somewhere draw the fine line between what is essential and what we should give up in the interests of moving forward rapidly. Now, this present training of yours, of course, is to train and create awareness of IPR in agriculture and to give you an overall view as well as practical nuts and bolts and nitty-gritty of what needs to be done as you go about your business of developing new technologies and the entrepreneurs in terms of commercializing and taking the technologies to the end users. to develop a culture for protection, to start thinking in terms of developing that culture. And excellent participation here, as I sort of felt. This assembly has a very wide spectrum of perspectives which they will bring to the common table in your interactive sessions with your expert lecturers and trainers who are going to talk to you. And I was really impressed with the list of very eminent people who are going to be here to talk to you, and it's exceedingly timely that our center should be able to tap into these excellent resources which will enrich the training of our of all our participants. So with these words, I'd like to thank you very much, and once again let me say how happy I am to be here with you. Something which we thought of 10 years ago, to see it bloom and to see it take the shape that it has till now. But like I said, nothing is perfect, and we need to very quickly in the next year think in terms of having a assessment of how we can improve it further. I like the thought which Samuel had said when he quoted Marcus Aurelius. Getting together is a beginning. What is a? Keeping together is progress, and working together is success. So I think with those words, I'm going to couldn't have a better ending than that, to say thank you very much for your patience, and my very good wishes for the success of this training program.
Thank you, Madam, for your enriching lecture. I would like to make a small note. As you have mentioned that, yes, when we protect, it is up to us whether we are going to give it free or we are going to charge it. I would like to apprise you that already we have the three-tier approach, in which some of the technology that we have identified that we are giving at a very token amount of licensing fee just to have their commitment. That is not, we are not charging that, what we are putting into the development of those technology, and that we are giving for encouraging the social entrepreneurship. And another is there are technology that has been identified for the small scale industry, and for that matter we charge little bit. Again, that is not that we are looking for the licensing fee. Basically we are just buying their commitments, so that they should put their money and it should be in the market. If we are giving free, so they do not value it. So that's the kind of thing that we are doing. Yes, there are certain technology which means a business. When we are dealing with the corporate, we try to be in their language, we try to be in their shoes. But yes, a little bit we have moved on. And now, again, to Mr. Samuel's remarks, I'm very happy that you are saying that we are getting the IP facilitation center. Yes, we are doing the IP facilitation but for the institutions, that we are having the internal system, whatever IRI is generating. So we are doing the IP protection, but we requested MSME to give us the IP facilitation center, so that these services we can extend to the incubatees or to the MSME which are here in NCR region or the North region. And because we are providing the virtual incubation in the northern region, so the virtual incubator will also get benefit out of this scheme. So we will be very happy to have that, and I promise you that we will be the best one to implement that. So now I'll request, I'll take this opportunity to request our Joint Director to give a brief response to Madam's remarks or the concluding remarks. Sir, please.
Thank you. This is not expected, but anyway, it's a good thing to say thanks to ma'am, and also to tell her that whatever, I was really impressed by her connectivity and impromptu establishment of link between what she had planned earlier in her capacity as the chairperson of that guideline development for IPR framework, and then today's position of her being in public domain and not letting it go with the connectivities that are in place like NAS or TAS or whatever she was talking about, which is really great. That means your commitment is really honored, and we are really happy that we have people like you in places where it matters and who can take our messages. You yourself said that we have to have something where we need to do it on our own, and then finally take sometimes think that it is public money, but not really get bogged down by the hurdle of that being a bigger boundary to cross, which is very nice. If people in public sector, public bureaucracy think on this line, then our IPR management will really go a long way. And we need more of Madam Sharmas in our system. I hope we get them, and it's very important. Then let me also tell you, ma'am, that as you said, we will see that the technologies which we are giving to farmers or farmer producer company, we have also set up a farmer producer company from here. Beach India is the one which we have done it from here. And I have a larger plan, and in fact just not farmers, also pharmaceuticals related to agriculture can come in through our center, and because we have several people who can develop those connecting technologies with some things which are coming from outside India, but something which can develop from here so that the product can be of India relevance. That kind of thing which has to be done by an Indian entrepreneurs. So that's what we would like to enlarge into, not just seed business, many more things. So we'll request you to chair some of those committees or be on the board of such committees to give us advice, because your advice is invaluable, because your connectivity and your commitment is something which I have known, and that you came here with just a single letter was something great. Although you might have talked to Dr. Maurya, that is not for really asking him whether you should go, but more possibly to see how the coverage is and what kind of growth has happened after you left the system, must be for that purpose. So that's very nice, because you are professional in your orientation. That madam is a PhD in from UK, isn't it? From Cornell, yeah, from Cornell. So it is really great that we have people like you, and we'll look forward to more and more of intellectual property for commercial purposes, keeping India flag high, and Make in India is something that we are going to make from Indians also, not just Make in India from others like BMW. Today's page of Times of India has BMW, Mercedes and Audi. 3 leading manufacturers in the world of motor car, and they are all saying Make in India. The title itself is Make in India, and independent advertisements. So that's great. So we should do that in agriculture. My dream is that we have an advertisement one day on the main page of Times of India where Indian agricultural entrepreneurs are saying so. Thank you very much, ma'am. We will do this with correction.
Thank you, sir, for sharing your dreams, and we will try to come up to that expectations. And I think we have to go miles away. And now I'll request Dr. Jayanti, she is a course coordinator with me, to propose a formal vote of thanks.
So, Honorable Chief Guest of today's function, Dr. Mrs. Rita Sharma, and the guest of honor for today's function, Mr. Samuel, who is also Joint Commissioner, who is also representing the MSME. Our Joint Director Research, Dr. Prabhu, and Joint Director Extension, Dr. Sharma, Dr. Neeru, other dignitaries and colleagues. So I take it as a privilege to extend my vote of thanks for today's function. So I feel it is on behalf of ICR, Indian Agriculture Research Institute, we would like to place our heartfelt vote of thanks to Mrs. Rita Sharma for having coming here and having given us a very bird's eye view of the entire setup of what has happened before and what is just now happening and what can be done in future, and also what are the gaps. So it is like she was the right person for this function, because there was no other better person for this function, I think, because she was the person who has drafted the policies. So thank you so much, ma'am, for this thing. And next we would like to express our deep sense of appreciation and gratitude to Mr. Samuel also, who is also coming from the MSME, who was funded for this training program. And he also, actually for him, it's again coming back to his old college. And incidentally, I also knew that he's one of my juniors. I also studied from the BSc Agri College, Madurai. So it is a happy occasion that he has come here. Then next, I would like to thank our Joint Director Research, because he is a big motivating factor for doing this training program, and thank you sir for all the encouragement. And also thank the Joint Director Extension for his kind words and also for his encouragement and help. Next, I would like to thank Dr. Kocher for his guidance, and also Dr. Maurya also for his all the help in these issues. And next, the trainees who have come from all over the places, and some of them have come out of Delhi also, leaving their families. So this 21 days, so thank you, and also try to make use of your time to learn as much as possible during this training program. Next, an endeavor like this cannot happen overnight. So the wheels were set rolling around a few months back. So Dr. Neeru is backed up by a small dedicated team who will always rise up to the occasion. So on this occasion, I would like to thank the team, Mr. Tiwari, Pahuja, Pankaj, Diptarkar, Diksha, and Amarjit, who have been working throughout for conducting this training program. And and also now, once again, I thank all the people on the dais and all the audiences and all those who could spare some time for coming for this occasion. Thank you, one and all.
Thank you everybody who has come here, who has spared time to grace this occasion. Now I invite everybody to join us for a cup of tea outside this hall. Another announcement is before pre-lunch session we will be conducting here in this auditorium, and after lunch session will be in the JTM BPD premises. So thank you everybody. Thank you very much.